Hello, welcome back to another episode of D54. I'm Amit, joined by my main man, Mr. Sunny. How you going?
Good, man. Good to be here to discuss this absolute mindbender of a film.
Yep. We are discussing the third part in the trilogy, Churuli, from Lilo Jose Pellissery. And yeah, man, mind-bending, mind-blowing, mind-effing experience, however you want to say it, man. It completely...
Just a wow,
Yeah, wow. I mean, it leaves you pretty shocked at the end and leaves you thinking a lot, like his movies normally do. Because we have some experience with sort of suddenly we watched Nanpakul near too.
Of course, yeah.
And that one also left us like, wait, what happened in the end there? So who is he now?
Yes. This is just dialed up by a million, I feel.
Exactly, yeah. This one takes it to a whole other level, man. This one is like, it really twists and turns. It's not even a conventional twist. Like you're shocked at the end. You actually have to spend some time trying to figure out what the hell this movie is literally trying to tell you. Like not even even from a not even from a higher purpose or like a bigger picture or what's the message of the movie, but what actually happened.
100%.
Yeah, but
I think like you're just sitting confused the entire time. So yeah, I love that feeling.
Definitely, man. So we're going to do the whole thing that we've been doing recently, review and react. So we think that's going really well to give you guys some context. And obviously, some people might not have watched this movie recently. So we hope that this, brings back some memories of sort of some scenes that you guys also might remember and our reactions to them as well. But Sunny, before we get into it, man, what are your sort of first impressions of sort of watching this kind of movie? Obviously, was watching Lijo for the second time. We got to see Chemban Omega Babu as we first saw him in our I think our second Malayalam movie ever in Talumala.
Wow.
But yeah. In Chemban playing a lead role, and obviously we got some cameos from our favorites Joju, George, and Sobin. So, yeah. What do you think, man?
Man, I mean, where do you start with a film like this? I had no expectations about this film. I saw that it's something like a sci-fi thriller, and I was like, I don't know if I've seen that combination in recent times before, and I'm interested to see how this goes. You start watching the film, and I was obviously had Nanpakul in my mind, but this is a different film, man. You could almost say this is like not even relatable to what Nanpakul was like, because almost immediately there is a sense of dread and foreboding and ominousness from the start animation, which foreshadows exactly what our main characters are going to go through, to just the entire film where, I mean, I had no idea what was going on for the most part, but it did not stop me being at the edge of my seat the entire time. I was completely hooked, and I was just riveted from start to end. And even though I left being none the wiser about what had happened, while I did have some theories, that was not a bad feeling. I still thought that this was an incredible experience, but so different to Nanpakul, man. And even the tone of this film immediately so different to Nanpakul. The language people use, the random outbursts of violence, the sci-fi elements. I can't believe in some respects that this is the same director. The thing that makes me remember it's the same director is the kind of higher meanings behind some of what he's trying to say, and also just the amazing cinematography and character work. Those are common threads with Nanpakul and this. And I was like, okay, same guy, just completely different. And it's amazing to have a director who has such a variety of interests and can move between genres so seamlessly.
Definitely. No, we got to see a lot of I think the two of the similarities between Nanpakul and this one that I could see was the world building. Like he creates this community really well in this one, just like he did in that one too. Small village town again. Obviously this one has all kinds of sci-fi elements, and is it actually a real town or not? There's all kinds of questions that this one sort of brings about and sort of some of the theories. And we will get onto sort of the sci-fi elements, I think probably more towards the second half of the movie, because that's just the way the scenes were broken down. But it's going to tease it in, but the end is where we're like going to really talk about some of the our theories as to what we think actually happened. So I think there are multiple time loops in this. One's told through the prelude at the start, then we get our main movie, and then we have the future, which is what we might who we think is going to be where in the next iteration of the cycle, I guess. But yeah, like a you, man. Like I think I could tell it was a Lilo Jose Pellissery movie mostly because of the fact of the cinematography style. I'm getting very familiar with how beautifully he shoots movies. the attention to detail, how he sort of he has this thing where he sometimes lingers on shots for just a second or two longer. I think that's a very distinct thing, which I can pick up that only sort of he does. Or not, he does it consistently throughout a movie, and he does it for a purpose. And I saw this movie do it again, and I was like, why are we pausing for an extra like 5 frames? But there's something there. It adds to the mystery as to, are we meant to pick something up here? And he did that in Nunpuckle as well. He'd stop and be like, wait, are we meant to be watching something here, or is this thing finished already? What is the point of this for? He does this sort of similar thing.
It's excellent because I think sometimes those scenes, they can mean something more and you're meant to pick up something, but also they're just a moment to reflect on what you've just seen before we kind of hurtle into the next scene, right? We're so used to cinema and films just going from one major scene to the next where you're always constantly advancing a plot. Those extra scene, like where he lingers on, a spiral coil that is burning to keep the mosquitoes away, you're just like, okay, what was that dream that Shajeevan just had? And you're thinking about it. So that pacing is also another great element of Lilo Jose Pellissery's direction.
Definitely, man. Let's jump into the first scene. I mean, this scene's from the start of the movie, and when we saw this movie, man, I was like, I knew I was in for something. So this is a bit longer than what I think most of them are, just because of the way it plays out. I think again, he purposefully makes the scene drag out longer, and I think there must be a purpose for it. But I mean, I wanted to talk about some of the like the way he shot this. I'm surprised, like how he actually captured this in cinema. To be honest, so let's get into it. It's beautiful, man.
Absolutely gorgeous, this forest landscape.
A hairpin turn, man. It's crazy.
That's not easy. I would not want to be making that one.
No. Just waiting for the switch.
Yeah, I know. Where is this filmed, man? This is just gorgeous.
It's beautiful, I know. All right, this part.
ഇച്ചിരി വിലക്കുറവുള്ളതാ.
ഇതിലൂടെ ആള് കിടക്കുന്നില്ല. എങ്ങനെയാണ് ജീപ്പ് ഞാൻ നോക്കണേ.
This is a nightmare scenario for me.
Crazy, man.
വന്ന് കേറാ കൂത്തിച്ചു മക്കളെ. ആരുടെ കാന്റീനെ നോക്കിക്കണം. കട പോലത്തെ സാമാൻ തോക്കിട്ട് മുട്ടാൻ വരുന്നു. നീ ഇങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കണം അങ്ങോട്ട്.
Not wrong. Not wrong at all.
Not wrong at all. And there's the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, when you talk about a Lijo movie, right? We're talking about lingering on scenes. He made basically a truck go through a wooden bridge, go for what, like 5 minutes? When you could have easily made that into a 2-minute thing, right? Like that's definitely like that's what he sort of does.
Yes, I remember watching this
scene. Yeah,
exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say. I was wondering, watching this, why this scene is taking so long. Like, it shouldn't be that important to the whole plot. I was like, let's get to the mysteries, guys, or the sci-fi or thriller elements. But I found myself so tense while that car was crossing that bridge, like unnecessarily so. The guy driving it isn't even a main character in this film, and yet I was just on the edge of my seat the entire time. That's masterful direction, man.
And I mean, I don't know how they did the cinematography for this one. That felt so real. Like, that was brilliant. Like, I mean, even the lead up to that with the shaky cam, and it felt like the camera was just like sitting outside like the window, where like the side, like the side windows are, and just the carrier next to it, and it's just shaking the whole time. And you see the faces just distort and sort of change into something else,
almost like trance-like. When they're like going across the bumpy road before they get to the bridge. It was really memorable the way it was done, and just the amount of effort that has gone into that scene, the number of angles you had. You had, of course, the beautiful aerial shots. You had front on where you see what's in front of the car, you see what's behind the car, then you look at front on towards all of the people in the car. Just the amount of detail, and then of course underground as you see the Jeep getting over the wooden bridge. The amount of detail that has gone into this one scene is remarkable. And I remember again thinking, why are we doing this? But it's a critical point in the movie, perhaps the first inflection point. They've entered a foreign world, maybe a foreign planet.
Yeah. I think they allude to it a little bit before. They say something like this Jeep is, like it's made for going to hell or something like that. Which is what Churuli is meant to be a metaphor for, or maybe a real life scenario for. I'm not exactly sure. We'll talk about that more later. But it is a different place, and they sort of do reference that. Pretty. They pretty much say they basically let us know in that one. There's no mystery about that it is
on the nose.
Somewhere else, and that's told by basically how these guys transform, which is the other huge part of this.
So abrupt
scene. I know. And obviously, guys, language warning. Obviously, we're not going to be using much explicit language in this, but what's coming in the videos is going to be explicit, because I think that is one of the things about this movie. It is so like explicit. Like, I mean, we're getting translations to us, but I'm sure, man, like the actual, like what they're actually saying and the literal translation is probably not what we're getting. So I'm sure it's much worse.
100%.
What we're told, I think we're probably just told generic, like, but it's probably, if it's told like that
Yes.
to us, wow, like it's going to be pretty bad.
Amazing.
But yeah, man, I just thought it was so. One thing I also noticed was that also at the start, because I realized that when they're in Churuli, there's a lot of these sounds which are insect sounds, like insects, like snakes and stuff like that. I just noticed then at the start, rewatching this one at the start, in the aerial shots, it was birds. I don't know if that's consistent.
Yeah.
It was birds, so I don't know if that's also
Yes.
just meant to represent that's a different place. He does all these subtle little things, Lijo does, and there's so much in this movie that even as much as we're going to try to dissect as much as we can, we're still going to miss out on quite a lot.
Yes.
Like, it's pretty
100%.
impressive.
And you've touched on another great observation there, which is the music in this film is just, it plays such an integral part. It doesn't kind of, try to hammer home a point, but it creates this atmosphere so beautifully of this eeriness and otherworldliness. And you saw that as soon as they crossed the bridge, that the music kind of becomes this kind of weird alien-like sound, or I don't even know what instrument they're using to generate that, but it's just, it all evokes a foreign landscape and something that is unfamiliar to the audience.
No, it definitely does. It's like this movie does play on, and we'll probably get into a bit more. It does this thing that I really love in sort of movies, and it's a theme that I don't see too much of, but in his movies we see it quite a bit. This like magical fantasism kind of thing. It's like magical realism, I guess that's what you could put it as. It's like
that's what I would describe it as. Yes,
it's completely like it's grounded in reality because the character, there's no superpowers, there's no elves, there's no medieval times, nothing like that. There's nothing explicitly fantasy or sci-fi about it, except for the dreamlike sequences he has, which can be explained as something that's common to man. But then he has these elements that he throws in to these movies that are a bit not realistic, fantasy or sci-fi like basically what Churuli is, and we see that in sort of where they are, like the town of Churuli, the city of, I guess the town of Churuli, really, it's something else. It's not of this world, and he does that so well through, you're right, the atmosphere, the sounds, the interactions that people have, like the characters, the language used, which seems almost like exaggerated so much that it's not even real. Like,
that's right. Yeah, it's so stark.
Ridiculous. Definitely, man. No, I'm glad you mentioned about the music. But yeah, I guess, was there any other thoughts around that before we jump into the next one?
No, man. It was just what a great starting point for the film. And one of the great points of this film is just how taut it is. There's not a whole lot of time wasted. We're getting straight into the plot, right? Like they're undercover cops from scene one or after the animation. And we're going straight into Churuli very quickly. So love that. Love that.
No, definitely, man. Let's jump into the next one. Let me just add the stage. Yep. That clicking sound.
What? Oh, and the bird sounds there. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, okay, the birds are here.
It's almost like crickets or insects.
I'm not sure who they're meant to represent.
No. Man, I'm getting goosebumps with this.
Yeah, man.
ഞാൻ തങ്കച്ചന്റെ പറമ്പിലേ റബ്ബറിന് കുഴി കുത്താൻ വേണ്ടി വന്നാ. എന്നിട്ട് കുത്തി കഴിഞ്ഞോ? അതിന് തങ്കച്ചൻ അവിടെ ഇല്ലല്ലോ. ഈ പ്രദേശത്ത് ഇരുട്ടിന്ന് വന്ന് താമസിക്കുന്ന ആരെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ടോ? നീ കുഴി കുത്തുവല്ലടാ.
That is scary, man.
നീ കുഴി കുത്തുവല്ലേ?
Oh, this is terrifying.
നീ കുഴി കുത്തുവല്ലടാ.
That is the stuff of nightmares.
I know. Ooh, man. I mean, there's a lot to, like you said, nightmares, which is great because like there's like this whole element with his character especially, and I do want to give some props to this guy too. I've never seen him before. Vinay Fortt playing Shah
No,
Jivan.
neither.
I haven't seen him before, but yeah, he does a fantastic job because his whole arc is like it's so confusing because you don't know, like while you're watching this movie, how much of this is real and how much of this is a dream. Like, because the way that the other thing that Lijo does so well is that he keeps cutting scenes in between. You know, like just then he doesn't give us a full conclusion as to what happens. We don't see the woman chasing us anymore, so we don't know if that actually happened or not, or if it's a dream.
And I think he sees that woman again at church or something, and she just like closes her eyes at him or something. There's no further discussion of this insane thing that has just happened, which I love it. He just leaves it open.
Yeah. It leaves it completely open. But I mean, just again, like the sound design on this, you could spend a whole episode just talking about the sound design on this because, man, you just hear the constant clucking and the wood being chopped with the insect sounds and the birds also there here. Yeah, and just her just basically coming slowly coming towards you, and you're just like, what's going on? It's pretty impressive.
It is so impressive. And like, when I watched that, I was genuinely like, again, edge of your seat stuff and actually scared. When was the last time a grandmother has ever looked scared, like has ever made you feel that way, right? I also just think that scene was a brilliant dichotomy of kind of the forest landscape, right? Because we had all of this beauty, you know, the sounds and the greenness and the half-broken tree with the sun seeping through, and then suddenly it turns dark with this woman chasing him with an axe, right? And that's the two things you see about the forest environment. It's gorgeous when we're doing those aerial shots and you're like, how wonderful is that? It's untouched by humans for the most part. And then you get into the literal weeds of this place and it's terrifying as well. And he just balances that throughout the movie so well, that beautifulness as well as the horrors that lie in Churuli and the forest landscape.
Yeah. No, he's again, Lijo does this fantastic job of making everything so beautiful. Like, you know, like he takes simple settings, like we saw in Nunpuckle, which is a small like rural town, and now it's taking a forest, which is not much really there. It's pretty bare, but you know, the beauty of just nature itself, being untouched, as you mentioned. I'm pretty sure he must have chosen a location that is completely remote. And it's just in the wilderness. Which is, I mean, you're exactly right, because you see the dichotomy is awesome. You just have this beautiful, serene landscape. And then you see this crazy sort of grandma who I guess is chasing him, but we don't really know. I guess it doesn't even really confirm for us either, because, you know, there's so much, again, of that magical realism that we don't know how much of this land is actually real or not. We see other scenes where things are completely distorted. As well later on, like he's in a scene where he sees everything is just completely distorted, but we don't know if it's a dream again. So it plays on that so well. But this is the start of sort of where it's hinting at us to the time loop stuff, I think, with the whole, because she mentions like, you look familiar, you've been here before or something like that. She's one of the instances, one of the characters who says this. So, you know, there is some sense of like, why does everyone keep saying this? And he doesn't really give us a conclusion to that until the very end. This is what I just find so masterful about this movie. It just makes you wait until the very end to get any kind of conclusion at all. And even then you're like, wait, what?
Absolutely, the wait what part represents how I felt at the end. But he drops enough kernels of potential clues to the ending that you are always listening. You're always kind of on the lookout for, you know, what more is going on here and trying to unravel this mystery at the same time, which is great because, you know, scenes like that are few and far between in this film. Usually it's just them going about working at the toddy shop or the bar or whatever it is, you know, helping it transforming randomly into a church and just kind of ordinary day-to-day things. And they're trying to figure out who this Joy person is. But it's these little moments, quiet, kind of disquieting moments that keep you on the edge of your seat and give you enough to make you keep kind of leaning in and being like, okay, what does that all mean?
Definitely. No. It brings up a good point, actually, because the thing that I was thinking of when you were sort of talking about sort of how you sort of, it lays enough seeds and stuff like that is because there's no really definitive, like, you know, through, what you call it, storyline here. Like we are basically going on a journey without much knowing what's going on. Like, yes, they're looking for this Joy guy. That's a very, it's a very loose story. There's not much substance to that. It's not like there's ups and downs and they get suspects and they find him. Most of the part, they're completely lost. Like they're just looking around, asking people's names. Everyone says their names are different. We've interrogated everybody. No one seems like they're here. like that Tilikin guy has not come yet.
No.
They're getting moved, so we're just left.
Yes. That's right. And they kind of have just kind of settled into this village life very quickly, very randomly as well. Like the senior police investigator, Anthony, I think is the name. He just gets into it. He just goes like, don't stress out too much. The mystery, like we'll find this Joy guy. Whereas it's the Shajivan character who's like, let's start talking to people. Let's try to figure this out. And the senior police investigator is like, nah, just take your time. Like ingratiate yourself into this environment. Through clues will come. So there isn't that sense of urgency. There isn't that sense of urgency to solve the kind of mystery of let's find Joy and take him to prison or whatever.
Yeah. Now the toy shop is also a great example, as in you just see how, like, they're basically, I don't know if they get used or manipulated or what is it that we see them one scene, they're coming in, they're all happy. Next scene you see them, they're actually serving everybody. Like, like they've actually just transformed into like basically into the staff.
It is basically unclear who's using induction. Who there.
Yeah, exactly right. Like they came in and the scenes where like he's making some curry and he adds more spice to it to make sure it's worse. Like, like they're basically trying to make this place as like as worse as you could think of. It's crazy. But we'll continue on, man. There's sort of, I think the next thing is more to do with what sort of this world is about, really, and more clues into what you call it, the Vinay Fort's character.
Jesus.
This is brutal, man.
This is shocking.
Oh, man. Man,
gripping,
incredible. It's, I mean, the fact that we'll start off with I'll sort of work backwards, but sort of that last sort of scene where it takes a master to basically build a film, that kind of scene. One, you barely have any light, yet at the same time, we're able to feel everything that Shajivan has just gone through in that.
Yes.
You can,
without a word being said.
No word being said, just the sound of thunder and rain, him walking in, you can just see he's in the distance.
Yes.
And you just have a small little lantern there to help you sort of see his face.
That's right.
Everything conveyed. Everything. You understand what the hell just happened.
Exactly what has just happened.
What he's just done. You know something bad has happened. That's all you know that's happened. You don't know if you suspect maybe he's done something that you probably don't wish for him to do, but at the same time, it's like you know something bad has happened.
Yeah. That's right. I just love how there's the small lantern that lights him up, but also the random bursts of lightning that shower a little bit of light, but not a whole lot. And so you only see a little bit of an outline of his kind of facial reactions and everything, and you get this sense of dread as to what he might have just done.
Yeah. Definitely true, man. And even before that scene, that scene is the first scene is sort of the first. It's not one of the first, but it's one of the examples of sort of one of the things that make this movie so sort of trippy and very hard to sort of understand. It sort of is a bit like the last scene with the whole with the axe lady, but this one is a little bit more abstract in that something's happening in his mind, like literally there's no confusing about this one. We know he's getting slapped and he's seeing some kind of visions. The same way, I think he has a dream earlier on where he sees like a flame go from like north to south or something like that.
The fireball, yeah,
fireball, and we know that that's a dream. So there are these sort of abstract moments that are just like completely, like honestly absurd. This one definitely gives us more of a literal hint that this guy's been here before, but we only find out after this, because at this stage we know about the lady who's a key.
I actually didn't pick that up until I just watched that again. Just the red lantern sort of thing. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, so he's seeing he's seeing the place he's been to before in a previous cycle, I would assume. But what do you think about the whole the first entry scene, man? The whole slapping competition.
It's such a perfect encapsulation of this village in Churuli, right? Like this is a form of entertainment that they have. Exactly. It's this violent and crude game where they just slap each other until one of them falls. It is such a perfect dissection of everything about this place where you're kind of submitting to your baser instincts. And maybe that's one of kind of the messages here, that when humans are taken out of the civilized world in a way, this is the kind of behaviors they might resort to. But maybe the counterbalance there is, I guess this is a village full of self-professed criminals, I guess. So there's, it's a very niche part of the human population. But I just thought it was masterfully directed, because as there happens to be more slaps, the background noises all fade away and the people shouting at Shajivan and the other guy kind of fade away, and it's really the slaps, and everything else is kind of background noise that is indistinct. And that's just beautifully done, because it's trying to focus you on just the actions of the slapping and the visions that Shajivan is having. And so it's just beautifully done. And it maybe is sort of the first taste of violence for Shajivan in this movie, right? Because he's otherwise a very demure guy. I think maybe the Anthony character describes him as a person without flaws or something. And
no vices.
We obviously know, no vices. And then we know what he transforms into, right? He commits, you see in this thing that in the scene, the latter part, he might have committed a heinous crime. And then there's another thing that happens with the healer lady's nephew or something. Yeah, that's right. So this is maybe the start of his journey into that kind of Churuli behavior, I guess. And it happens so imperceptibly, and I can only really realize it now watching it again, this very imperceptible transformation that leads to kind of the more significant actions that he takes later on. So just such a brilliant amount of foreshadowing, a lot packed in, and just like, I think not any excess baggages in these scenes. No. You might say the scenes of Anthony waking up and looking for Shajivan are unnecessary, but they just build to the tension of what is happening here. And it just hits you then when Shajeevan actually walks in that, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is a turning point potentially.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And the way that, they sort of shoot that end scene as well is basically like, like they take a good amount of time just for him, waking up slowly, walking around slowly,
saying his name a few times.
Then there's like an extended break between where he lays down and then when Shajeevan comes back into the room. It's intentional. There's like a break in there's like a break in the there's like a break basically between scenes just to sort of have that waiting time, like just wait for it, build your tension, anticipation, and then bam, there you go. It's pretty impressive, man. Really, really impressive. But yeah, the first scene, like I think the thing is this is the start of his journey because I think the foreshadowing is unbelievably good in that, and there's a high message behind the whole time loop thing with this because I think the person they're trying to find, Sobin's character Joy, has committed the crimes that Shajeevan commits during his time in Churuli. So Joy, I think, is that what he's wanted for, murdering. I think he's wanted for pedophilia and he's wanted for poaching as well. And that's what that's what Shajeevan does basically in his time in Churuli.
Yes, good point.
So, yeah. So it's pretty like the foreshadowing is all there. So again, you watch this on the second time and you'll probably pick up a lot more, I think. Because you can just sort of anticipate those scenes coming in. But yeah, man, you're exactly right about how this is sort of what Churuli is about. Like we see it's just so consistent. We see it from the language being used at the start, right? That's the first visceral impact that we have, like the abusive language, like stuff that I cannot even repeat on this video. Like basically it's so bad. And then we see it in a more physical form to the actual action, because till then it was a bit of brawling, it's a bit of abuse at each other, but this is a literal abuse. And I think this guy's an outsider as well. He wasn't even I think from memory he wasn't even part of the town. He came in from somewhere else.
And he was immediately suspicious of the two main characters, right? He was already suspicious. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.